Hey there, if you're a junior engineer trying to figure out what's next for your career, you've probably heard the word Kubernetes thrown around. A lot. So in this explainer, we're going to break down what it is, why it's such a big deal, and how something called the CKA certification can be a total game changer for you. Let's dive in.
We're going to walk you through the whole journey, from running just one little container to basically conducting a whole orchestra of them in a real live production environment. And more importantly, we'll show you exactly how you can prove you have those skills and really make yourself stand out.
So let's just start with a question that every single successful app eventually has to answer. Running one container is pretty straightforward, right? But what happens when your app totally blows up? When you go from one user to a million? Suddenly, you're not dealing with one container, you're dealing with hundreds, maybe even thousands. How on earth do you manage all that without everything falling apart?
And that right there, that's what we call the container scaling problem. See, managing a handful of containers manually, yeah, you can probably do that. But when you try to do that at a huge scale, it becomes this massive, complicated headache.
Think about it like this. On one side, you've got the manual way. You're deploying updates one by one by one. You're constantly checking if things are still running. And when traffic suddenly spikes, good luck scaling up fast enough. But on the other side, there's this ideal world. You've got automated rollouts, systems that literally heal themselves by replacing broken containers, and scaling that's as easy as pushing a button. That is the promise of orchestration.
So, how do we get to that ideal state? Well, what we need is a conductor for our container orchestra. And in the world of modern cloud apps, that conductor has a name: Kubernetes. It's the tool that makes sure all of your different containerized pieces are working together in perfect harmony.
So what is it officially? At its core, Kubernetes, you'll hear people call it K8s. K8s, for short, is an open-source engine that just automates everything. It handles deploying your app, scaling it up or down, and all the day-to-day management. Basically, it lets you get back to what you do best, writing code.
Okay, but how does it actually do all of that? Let's take a look under the hood at the core components, and we're going to stick with our orchestra analogy to make this all make sense.
First up, the absolute most basic building block of Kubernetes is something called a pod. It's the smallest thing you can create, and it holds your application's containers. Sometimes one, sometimes a few that need to work closely together. So in our orchestra, a pod is like a single musician.
So, if the pod is our musician, where does a musician perform? Well, they run on a node. A node is just a worker machine. It could be a virtual machine up in the cloud, or it could be a real physical server in a data center. The node is the stage where all the magic happens.
And when you take a whole bunch of these nodes and group them together, you get a cluster. The cluster is the whole shebang. It's the entire concert hall. It's all the stages, the nodes, and all the musicians, the pods, and they're all being directed by something called the control plane, which is our conductor, the brains of the whole operation.
And who's behind all this amazing technology? Kubernetes is actually a massive open-source project, and it's hosted by the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, or the CNCF. Think of them as the guardians who provide a neutral home for Kubernetes, making sure it stays community-driven and isn't controlled by any single company.
Okay, so understanding these concepts is one thing, but how do you actually prove to someone that you've mastered them? That is where the CKA certification comes in. This is your path to officially becoming the conductor. The CKA is pretty much the gold standard for Kubernetes certification. For a company that's hiring, it's a guarantee that you have the real practical skills to do the job. And for you, it's the thing that makes your resume jump right to the top of the pile.
So, what do you actually need to know to pass this thing? Let's pull back the curtain and look at the official blueprint for the CKA exam.
Now just look at this. Take a look at the biggest slice of that pie, 30%. A full 30% of the exam is just on troubleshooting. And that tells you everything you need to know about running Kubernetes in the real world. Things are going to break, and your real value as an admin is being the person who knows how to fix them.
So what does that actually look like? Well, it means you've got to prove you can figure out why a cluster component is failing. You have to show you can safely roll out new updates or roll them back if something goes wrong. It means you can lock down your cluster with access controls and manage its storage. These aren't just abstract topics. These are the things you'll be doing every single day as a cloud engineer.
And here's the most important part. You really have to get this. The CKA is not a multiple choice test, not at all. It's a hands-on, performance-based exam. They give you a real command line, a real live cluster, and a list of problems to solve. You have to actually do the work, and that's exactly why this certification is so respected in the industry.
Look, learning Kubernetes and getting your CKA is a journey, and it's one that can totally change the trajectory of your career. It takes you from just building an app to orchestrating it at a massive scale. So the only question left is, are you ready to pick up that baton and start conducting your own cloud-native future?